The next saga is the Theban saga and the House of Labdacus. So the most recognizable name of this saga is probably the hero Oedipus, but again, we have to get kind of the full picture. So this is the Theban saga, or the saga of the city of Thebes. Thebes is located very close to where we were already. This is, again, the Attic region in Athens, and so Thebes is just across the border here. And that's where our story will pick up. Okay. So, first of all, if you remember Europa, the girl that Zeus kidnaps, he transforms himself into a white bull and carries her off to Crete. Okay? Well, Europa's brother, Cadmus, is told by his father, King Agenor, to search for his sister. And in fact, he tells Cadmus to not return without her. So, Cadmus goes to seek the wisdom of the oracle at Delphi to find out where Europa was, because remember, she disappeared on the back of Zeus as a bull. The oracle at Delphi actually tells him to not search for his sister, and he says forget about going back home. Instead, he was to venture forth until he should meet a cow. And then when he finds the cow, he needs to follow it wherever it should lead and found a city upon the spot where it finally lays down. So he goes out, finds a cow, and follows it until it lies down from weariness, and there he founds the city. And the city is first called Cadmea, which means the citadel. Okay, it will later be called Thebes. Okay, so it's Cadmea. And Cadmea is found in the region of Greece known as Boeotia, which is the land of the cow, if that should make sense. Okay, so in this particular region is a freshwater spring that is guarded by a dragon sacred to Ares. So he first must, slay the dragon. Now, Cadmus isn't alone on this journey. He does have a troop of men, and when he kills the dragon is able to kill some of Cadmus's men. So, with his men dead, he's left to found the city all by himself. So the goddess Athena shows up to help Cadmus. Remember, help is part of the motif of the hero, and divine help especially is noted. Okay, so Athena tells him that he needs to take the dragon's teeth, the dragon that he just killed, and sew them into the ground. Think Jason and the Argonauts, and remember what happens when you sew dragon teeth? Yes, men sprout out of the ground from the dragon's teeth, and they're fully armored. But he's all by himself. So Athena tells him to cast a stone in amongst this group of newly emerged men. And when he does so, they fall to fighting amongst themselves and killing each other. In the end, only 5 of these dragon teeth men survive the battle, and they wind up joining Cadmus in his efforts to found the city of Cadmea, or the city of Thebes. They are known collectively as the Spartoi. Okay, the Spartoi are the 5 original noble families of Thebes, and they again are the descendants of the 5 dragon teeth men that survived the battle. Okay, once Cadmus has a city, he needs a queen, and so he will wind up marrying Harmonia. Now, he doesn't kill the dragon of Ares without any kind of consequences. He has to pay penance for killing the serpent, and in order To do so, he has to serve Ares for a year. At the end of that year, he is given Harmonia as his wife. Harmonia was the goddess of harmony and concord. She's a daughter of Aphrodite, and she presides over marital harmony, soothing strife and discord, but especially strife and discord in marriages. She is the daughter of Aphrodite and Ares. So as a daughter of Ares, she represents harmonious action in war. Her father's the butcher of war, but she's the harmonious action in war. Okay? Harmonia was born from Aphrodite's affair with Ares. And so you have to remember that Aphrodite's true husband is Hephaestus. So the jealous spouse is going to play a part here too. And in this case, the jealous spouse is Hephaestus, not Hera. Chip off the old block, I guess. Okay? So when Harmonia marries Cadmus, Hephaestus sees an opportunity. Still angry about his wife's betrayal, he presents Harmonia with a necklace. All right? A beautiful necklace of his exquisite craftsmanship, but it's cursed. All right? It seems like a good idea because this necklace will allow any woman wearing it to remain eternally young and beautiful. But the wearer will doom her descendants to endless tragedy. So she'll remain young and beautiful forever, but she's dooming her descendants to endless tragedy. So this necklace of Harmonia becomes a much coveted object amongst women in the house of Thebes, in Greek myths, and, women everywhere. Although there's no solid description of the necklace, it's usually described in ancient Greek passages as being a beautifully wrought gold in the shape of two serpents whose open mouths form a clasp and that is inlaid with various jewels. All right. During the reign of Cadmus and Harmonia, the royal couple introduced writing and the other arts of civilization to Thebes. So they are credited with creating Thebes as a center of culture and civilization. And they have 4 daughters. And they're listed here. And you'll realize here pretty quickly that some of these are familiar names. Okay, their first daughter was Ino, the wife of Athamas. And she was an aunt to Dionysius. Semele was her sister. She was the mother of Dionysus, the one that's burned up by Zeus's divine form when she asks Zeus to show her his true form. So, remember that Zeus saves the baby, sews him into his thigh, and delivers him later, but he needs someone to raise the baby. So, his first nursemaid is Ino, right, the sister. But her husband, Athamas, winds up going nuts and kills one of their sons. She saves her other son by running away and jumping into a river to save herself and her son. Tragedy number 1. But they are transformed into, fish, so they do survive. Okay? Semele, again, is dead. Then you have the third daughter, Autonoa, who's the mother of Actaeon. Actaeon should be familiar because he's the one who stumbled upon Artemis while she was bathing, and she turns him into a deer, and he's hunted down by his own dogs and torn to pieces. Yes, that is Autonoe. See enough tragedy yet? Well, then you have Agave. She's the mother of Pentheus. Pentheus was the king who disagreed that Dionysus was a god and said, he's a relative of mine. His wife, or no, sorry, not his wife, his mother was my aunt, so he's not a god at all, he's a demigod. So remember, he's the one that goes out to witness the worship of Dionysus. He's disguised as a woman, and he is torn apart by his mother and other relatives that are out there worshiping Dionysus. So he's torn to pieces as well. All right, so again, the necklace is cursed. Yes, it gives a gift to the wearer, but it dooms their descendants. So all of these women and their descendants are doomed. Okay. At the end of their lives, Ares, Harmonia's father, transforms Cadmus and Harmonia into snakes. And you might say that this is in revenge for killing his sacred serpent, but it's all good in the end because then he transfers those snakes to the Isle of the Blessed. So Cadmus and Harmonia are almost always associated with serpents or snakes. Remember, there's even snakes on the necklace of Harmonia. Because of their association with serpents, they're connected with the soil and their fertility symbol or symbolic of fertility because of that. And again, don't forget the connection with Apollo and Delphi and the connection to the saga of Jason. Okay. After Cadmus and Harmonia pass and go to live on the Isles of the Blessed, I guess they don't pass, they become snakes. Okay. Pentheus becomes the king. You know, see above about what happens to him. After Pentheus is king, Polydorus becomes king. His son Labdacus becomes king. And finally, Laius succeeds his father. Now, Labdacus is credited as being the start of a new Theban dynasty. And the name of the whole dynasty changes to the house of Labdacus, and that is basically the beginning of the Oedipus saga. All right. Whoop, did I skip something? Yes. Okay. Now, Lycus here was a descendant of the Spartoi, the 5 original Cadmeans that help Cadmus create the city, the survivors of the Battle of the Dragon Teeth Men. Lycus actually takes over the throne and rules Thebes, or Cadmea, after Labdacus dies because Laius was just a baby. So Lycus ends up banishing Laius when he's 21 years old and is ready to take the throne. Lycus is like, no, I don't think I'm going to give it up. So he banishes Laius, and Laius goes to King Pelops for sanctuary in his exile. Okay. So Lycus is important because this is going to lead us to a kind of side story, but still an important part of the myth, because it's at this point in the story where Cadmea changes to Thebes. Okay? So Lycus here has a niece named Antiope. Zeus falls in love with Antiope, and the two they conceive twins, twin boys, Amphion and Zethus. And they're brought up by a shepherd because Antiope is imprisoned by Lycus and his wife Dirce. Okay? She shouldn't have had sex with Zeus. Okay? I guess that's the reasoning for her imprisonment. Anyway, Antiope winds up escaping and eventually is recognized by her sons, Amphion and Zethus. They kill Lycus and tie Dirce to the horns of a bull that drags her to her death. All right. And actually, I have a better picture than what that is. It's a fresco from ancient Greece that I should have used instead of that one, but that's okay. That's the basics of Amphion and Zethus. Okay, now they kill Lycus, and they take over the rule of Thebes. Whoops. I don't know why it does that. So they take over the rule of Thebes. They continue to keep Laius in exile. He's still the rightful heir, but he's been in exile and he will stay in exile for a while. Amphion and Zethus build the walls for the city of Cadmea, and those city walls have to be pretty strong to withstand attack, so these large stones that are used to build the wall are actually moved by Amphion because he is a demigod musician, and the music of his lyre is able to move the rocks. All right. Amphion marries a woman named Niobe, and Zethus marries a woman named Phoebe. And it is after Thebe that Cadmea's name is changed to Thebes, and the city is still known as Thebes even to this day. Okay? Now, all of this is happening while Laius is still in exile. And while you might feel bad about Laius being put into exile by this guy that was supposed to just be ruling while he was growing up, you might want to check that sympathy, okay? Because while he's in exile, Laius, again, seeks the sanctuary of King Pelops of Elis. And King Pelops has a son named Chrysippus, or Chrysippus. And Laius winds up kidnapping Chrysippus and raping him. That is very obviously a transgression of the laws of hospitality, and so Pelops invokes a curse on Laius and his family. And it's the curse of Pelops that we'll see play out with the saga of Oedipus. Because the curse of Pelops is that Laius will be killed by his son, and his son will go on to marry Laius's own wife. Enter Oedipus. All right. Laius marries Jocasta, and they have a son named Oedipus. Laius attempts to cheat fate because he tries not to marry, but he marries Jocasta. Then he tries not to have sex with his wife, so he won't have children, but he gets drunk one night and things happen. Okay. So he figures he can cheat his fate if he can just get rid of the baby. So he gives the baby to be set out on Mount Cithaeron to be exposed and to die. So again, this is how you got rid of unwanted babies. You just put them out in the wilderness and let them die. To kind of, I guess, ensure the baby's death, he even has the baby's ankles pierced by a brooch. And of course, Oedipus will carry that handicap throughout his life. And in fact, Oedipus means swollen foot in Greek. Okay. However, Oedipus does not die on the mountain. A shepherd happens across him and saves the baby and takes him to Corinth. The king and queen of Corinth, Polybus and Merope, couldn't have children of their own, so when the shepherd shows up with this abandoned child, they happily adopt him and think that he's the answer to their prayers. Okay. Now things are pretty good for Oedipus for a while until he grows up, and this is where we are in the story right here. In Corinth, King Polybus learns of a curse that is supposed to start with Oedipus's manhood. Oedipus learns of this same curse as well, and when he hears of this curse, he doesn't want to kill his father and marry his mother, obviously, but they've obscured the truth from him, and he doesn't know of his true parentage, and that he is actually in no danger of killing Polybus and marrying Merope. So he decides to leave Corinth and travel to Thebes in order to avoid killing his father and marrying his mother. And in fact, he will never see his adopted parents, Polybus and Merope, again. Now, it's his decision to circumvent his fate that actually leads him to fulfilling it, because on his way to Thebes, he runs into Laius at this crossroads, known as the Schiste Hodos, right here. So he comes across Laius, and tradition of the time dictated that a king must always have the right of way. Now, Laius is a king, and Oedipus is a prince. He's been raised as an heir to the throne. So in his own mind, he's a king as well. So neither of them would get out of each other's way. So Oedipus attacks the king and his entourage and kills Laius and fulfills the prophecy, or at least that part of the prophecy. It's at this same time that Thebes has been having a problem with a creature called the Sphinx. This, over here in this picture, this kind of head of a woman, head and breast of a woman, body of a lion, wings of an eagle, sometimes a serpentine tail as well. And so this Sphinx has been terrorizing Thebes, kills all of the travelers. It asks a riddle, and if you don't answer correctly, it will kill you. So Oedipus solves the riddle of the Sphinx, which we've heard before, right? What walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs in the afternoon, and 3 legs in the evening, right? And the answer is man and the different stages of life. So he defeats the Sphinx. I might have forgotten to mention this, but the Sphinx means the strangler. So that gives you an idea of how it kills people. And as a reward for saving the city from the Sphinx, Oedipus is given the reward of marriage. And he's given the reward of marriage to Jocasta, the widowed queen of Thebes. And thus, the curse of Pelops is fulfilled because Oedipus has killed his father and married his mother. Just lovely, right? Now, a plague besets the city of Thebes, and the oracle says that the plague is caused by the murderer of the king. The murderer of the king is living in Thebes, and the king's death has gone unavenged. Oedipus learns that he is actually the source of the curse, right, or of the plague. But it's around the same time that Oedipus's adopted father, Polybus, dies, and a messenger from Corinth is sent to Thebes to let Oedipus know that his father has passed away. His adopted father has passed away. But it's at this point that he finally learns the truth of his parentage, because he thinks he's finally, avoided the curse because his father is dead, but he didn't kill him. But then you have this shepherd, the same shepherd that saved Oedipus from his mountaintop fate, reveals the truth about Oedipus's lineage. And Oedipus and everyone finds out that he has indeed killed his father and married his mother. So Oedipus's prophesied fate is fulfilled. Jocasta will hang herself because she has married and had children with her own son. Now, don't forget about that necklace of Harmonia, because that was one of the sticking points of the story for me, is like, well, how did he not know that this woman was old enough to be his mother? She has the necklace, eternal youth and beauty. So he doesn't actually know that how old she is, okay? But she kills herself, and Oedipus takes 2 brooches from Jocasta's dresser and blinds himself by sticking them into his eyes. He banishes himself from Thebes and therefore, lifts the plague. And he wanders around Greece for years, and his only companion is his daughter Antigone. All right. So that's a picture of Antigone and her father. Now, Theseus will welcome Oedipus at the end of his life, because it was prophesied that wherever Oedipus was buried, that land would prosper. So Theseus has no trouble welcoming Oedipus at the end of his life. Okay. Now, Oedipus's death is considered miraculous because he dies without pain and without suffering. He certainly had enough in his life. In the Athenian version of his death, Theseus was the only one to witness it, and therefore brings honor to Attica and to his hometown. The non-Athenian version, though, is different and very, very much darker. Okay, very much dark. So in this, Oedipus actually dies in his own palace, and his sons, Eteocles and Polynices, bring him either some food that he doesn't like or a goblet that he didn't want to use or something like that, and he curses his sons that they would die fighting over the kingdom. And in fact, that is what happens to them. But we'll get to that in the next part. Okay? And of course, don't forget the significance of the Oedipus legend in Freud's Oedipal complex, right? Where a man matures and he has to kill his father, at least symbolically, overcome his father's authority, and not necessarily marry his mother, but I guess kind of marry a woman like his mother, right? That a woman is a mother is a man's first love, so he, kind of symbolically finds a woman like his mother and marries her. All right. So that brings us to the end of Oedipus's story. So that's a good place to stop this first part, and we'll continue with the kind of discord that happens after Oedipus's passing.